We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are New Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, February 10th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Wonbin.
Good morning.
Good morning. Also, Julie's with us.
Good morning.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as we enter the second day of the work week, it's worth noting that February is not only a time for fresh beginnings, but it's also graduation month here in Korea. It's a significant milestone for many students. It marks the transition from academic world to the professional world. And our two panelists today are at an age where many of their peers are stepping into the job market, searching for that first big opportunity. So Wonbin, what does a job market look like for you or the people around you?
Well, for me, I'm a bit of an outlier because I took a quite different path from what most people my age do. As you guys know, I'm a freelancer, and it's good in some ways, but it's also bad in some ways. It definitely is a double-edged sword. The good part is that fortunately I was lucky enough to start working early, a little bit more early compared to my peers. But the bad part is that because I'm a freelancer, I constantly have to worry about future and what's coming next. You know, what's going to happen next year, got to worry about next month, next week, even tomorrow as well. However, for my friends, which is the more typical case who are in their mid-20s, it is a bit of a different story. I had a chance to meet them last year, and they're mostly graduating, or they're just getting a job, or they're preparing to getting a job or working as an intern. But all they have in common is that they do have big concerns and worries about their future career and what they will do for a living in the future.
But I think you should be really proud of yourself of building that foundation so early
Thank you.
on.
Yeah, I did put in a lot of effort to it, yeah.
So what about you, Julian?
I'm going to be completely candid. It is tough for a lot of people looking for jobs. Many of my peers are either actively looking for jobs or hesitant to leave their current situation because they know just how tough the job market can really be. And from my perspective, I feel like the job market has only gotten tougher since COVID began. Entry-level positions often seem to require prior experiences. So in the job description, instead of saying 0 to 1 years of experience, it might say 3 to 5 years for experience. And many young professionals have to be more increasingly proactive and strategic in building their careers when it comes to starting off after they graduate. So even though it's very challenging, I am very proud of my generation, how us Gen Zers are advocating for themselves while developing the skills needed to navigate such a turbulent job market today.
And that really captures the reality many young people are facing right now. The expectations for entry-level roles alone show just how tough the market has become. And I agree, there is a clear sense that this generation isn't just enduring the pressure, but actively speaking up for itself. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. The upward trend of young people who have given up on job hunting continues to rise. Today on News Generation, we delve into the reasons why so many young people are turning their backs on traditional careers, exploring the personal and societal factors behind this shift. We'll also examine how this growing frustration has led to conflicts within families and take a closer look at similar challenges faced by youth in other countries dealing with the resting generation phenomenon. As we just saw in the video, the rising trend of young people opting out of the job market is more than just a passing phase. It's a reflection of deep-rooted societal shifts. So how would we define the group known as a resting generation, or those that are economically inactive? And how has that group grown over the past few years, Wonbin?
Right, so let's start by defining the term resting generation before we dive deeper into this topic. The resting generation means people who are opting out of the job market without any severe excuses or causes such as raising children or taking care of the house or a severe disease. To give some additional explanation, opting out of the job market means not actively job hunting, not traveling, not studying, and not even volunteering. So basically doing literally nothing. And something alarming is that the number of resting youth has increased a lot in the past few years. Let's take a look at the stats. So according to the Bank of Korea, the economically inactive people, aka the resting generation, has gone up from 14.6% in 2019 to 22.3% in 2025. This means that in 2025, there are more than 700,000 resting people in Korea, not looking for a job and not doing anything. What's even more concerning is that the longer you don't work, the chances of becoming a resting generation gets higher too. Once again, let's take a look at the stats. Now, again, according to the Bank of Korea, the chances of resting during unemployment increases from 3.3% in the first year up to nearly 20% in the fifth year. So the longer you don't work, the more likely you don't do anything.
Right, so it seems like the resting generation is a growing trend, and it's concerning that such a large portion of young people are stepping away from employment preparations altogether. It's not just about those that are simply opting out of the job hunting process. So among those who are economically inactive, how many of them have decided they don't even want a job at all, Julian?
Yeah, so there is an increasing number of people who don't want a job or not even looking for jobs anymore. Among young people who are taking a break, the number identified as not wanting a job at all increased by 163,000 from 287,000 in 2019 to 450,000 last year. So as job opportunities continue to be limited and competition only continues to intensify, more young people are just giving up entirely and choosing to give up and not look for jobs anymore. So since they're less likely to re-enter the labor market in the future, many analysts are worried and believe that this could lead to a greater social loss than unemployment amongst those who are still actively looking for work. So it's pretty shocking to see because there are lots of people who are educated and they do have the skill sets in their field who are actively looking for work, but they're just choosing not to look for jobs because they're getting burnt out from the process altogether.
So it's alarming to hear that such a large number of young people have completely abandoned the idea of job hunting. And while the numbers are rising, it seems that many families are caught in a difficult situation, especially with this new dynamic affecting family relationship, namely with people just continuing to live at home. So, Wonmi, what kind of conflicts are happening within families because of this new phenomenon?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we can easily find a lot of stories like this online, sharing stories about how their children or siblings or even the writer themselves are resting at home, doing absolutely nothing. Most of the resting youth are so-called kangaru족, which translates to kangaroo tribe, which means living with their parents and not moving out. Therefore, there will inevitably be some conflicts between parents or siblings who are working. There are a lot of typical examples that we can think of, especially in Korea. For example, there's a grown-up child staying in the house, just playing video game or not doing anything, either after the army or after graduating. Their mom sees them and she starts nagging to them, go get a job or at least get a part-time job. And the child argues back, it's actually, I'm trying, but it's not difficult. And this gets worse if one of their sibling is actually currently working. So if the parents start comparing the working child and the not working, it gets really stressful for the entire family. There are more drama and tease about this in Korea, but this is one of the many examples that a lot of families with resting youth face in 2026 and 2025.
So with many young people still living with their parents, the generational clash seems to be widening, which could be adding to the social pressures young people are already facing. So how are opinions divided on the resting generation and the role in today's society, Julian?
Yeah, so Wonbin did a very good job of explaining just how differing opinions can lead to conflict. On one side, some people criticize resting youth, arguing that they're not making enough effort to find work or just simply becoming a burden on their families altogether. On the other hand, others view this as a broader social issue in our society. They believe that it's unfair to place the blame solely on the individual looking for work and argue that we need to better understand the larger structural context behind this issue and come together to find a resolution. It really is a tough and sensitive issue that really needs to be addressed, and each opinion really does matter, so it just makes this such a very tense situation to navigate.
Both at home as well, I guess.
Yeah.
And this division of opinions within families highlights the complex nature of the issue. So on the one hand, there's a sense of frustration from parents and siblings, while on the other, there's a deeper need to address the structural issues that are fueling this growing problem. But before we think about that, we need to know why this is happening. And that's why we asked Anya at Arirang News YouTube channel, why are more young people economically inactive? And here's what the results showed. So a significant portion, 49%, cite a shortage of suitable jobs as a primary factor, while 33% point to burnout from jobs insecurity and intense competition. Additionally, 10% feel there is no incentive to work due to the ample institutional support available, and 8% attribute it to personal choice or individual circumstances. So it's clear that the challenges faced by the resting generation are multifaceted. While a lack of suitable job opportunities stands out as the biggest issue, burnout from job insecurity and competition is also playing a major role. So to learn about the psychological aspect of this phenomenon, we're going to talk to a licensed therapist. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Yoon Jung, a therapist here in Seoul. So hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So why are young people choosing to be economically inactive in your opinion?
This issue, I think it should not be understood as an individual problem or just a lack of motivation. It is more accurate to view economic inactivity among young people as a structural and social issue. Several structural factors contribute to this trend. Entry-level hiring has decreased, while employers increasingly prefer experienced workers. At the same time, rapid technological change, including AI-driven automation, has reduced or transformed certain roles that traditionally served as entry points for young workers. So as a result, many young people come to believe that no matter how hard they try, success is unlikely. In addition, some individuals become economically inactive after leaving jobs due to extremely demanding or unhealthy work environments. So when re-employment proves more difficult than expected, repeated rejection can lead to chronic discouragement. Over time, this experience can resemble learned helplessness, where individuals internalize the belief that effort will not change outcomes, which prolongs economic inactivity.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Now, what psychological or emotional challenges might individuals who are economically inactive experience?
From a counseling perspective, prolonged economic inactivity can significantly affect mental health. Repeated experiences of failure and lack of control often lead to depressive symptoms, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Individuals may feel persistent helplessness, low energy, and reduced motivation. Self-esteem frequently declines as many people internalize their employment difficulties as a personal inadequacy rather than structural barriers. So some individuals, they also report a loss of meaning or purpose in life, especially in cultures where work is closely tied to identity and social value. Social isolation is another major concern. As people remain economically inactive for longer periods, they may withdraw from social relationships due to shame, stigma, or sense of falling behind peers, which further exacerbates psychological distress.
Great. To wrap things up, can you tell us what kind of support should be provided to those who are economically inactive?
Support for economically inactive individuals should be comprehensive and integrated, addressing both practical and psychological needs. It's important to help and helpful to actively connect individuals to existing government employment support policies for young people, which often include financial assistance during job searching or one-on-one or workshops on vocational guidance and re-employment programs. So these policies can reduce immediate economic pressure and provide structured pathway back into the labor market. Second, access to mental health support, including counseling and psychological services. Many economically inactive individuals are at high risk for depression, anxiety, and isolation. Early psychological intervention can help restore a sense of agency, rebuild confidence, and prevent long-term disengagement. There's actually mental health counseling voucher available for everyone. It provides total of 8 sessions of individual counseling at an affordable fee. So that's something to pay attention to. And finally, perhaps most importantly, we need to create environments that prevent isolation and sustain motivation. This includes community-based programs, peer support, and social structures that encourage continued engagement rather than withdrawal. So when people feel supported, connected, and able to take small but meaningful steps forward, I think economic re-engagement becomes far more achievable.
I agree. I think providing all of this kind of support is really important because, like you said, it's such a complex issue. There's, like you mentioned, there's a structural, societal aspect to it as well. And also, thank you for pointing out how there are also mental health vouchers for our viewers as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we just heard from a therapist about why young people are choosing to be economically inactive, what challenges they may face, and what kinds of support they may need. So now let's take a look abroad. So how is the resting generation issue being addressed in other countries, Wonbin?
So Japan had this problem for a long time as well. There are many youths who have been socially inactive for over half a year, excuse me, and Japan calls them hikikomori. This is happening because Japan's economy is not at its greatest compared to 30, 40 years ago, and because of the fact that Japanese culture really cares about how they look, how they're presented, and how successful they are, which is actually quite similar to Korea and other Asian countries. And since they aren't satisfied with where they are financially, they just give up, stay at home, and avoid going outside. Now, China also has a term called pairan, which means to give up on big exams or job hunting because it is way too competitive to get a decent job.
So it's interesting and quite sad, really, to see that similar issues are emerging in other countries like Japan and Korea. However, this issue isn't just happening in Asia. So Europe and the US are also seeing rising concerns. So how are they dealing with their own versions of this issue, Julian?
Yeah, so the EU officially tracks statistics on NEET, which stands for Not in Education, Employment, or Training. Now, it is considered a serious issue in Southern European countries such as Italy, Spain, and Greece. In the past, young people in Europe tended to be more independent from their parents at an earlier age, but lately many people just end up not being able to build up their careers and live at home due to the increasing living costs. The United States has a similar group, also referred to as the disconnected youth. Because they often experience feelings of isolation for being cut off from society, they're at a higher risk of developing substance issues. So as a result, there are efforts to help them reintegrate and get the help they needed to get back on their feet again.
So these problems in Europe and the US demonstrate how rising housing costs and social isolation are contributing to disconnection among youth. Now, with all these external pressures, it's clear that young people in this situation need some words of encouragement. So to close off our discussion today, what message, Wonbin, would you give to your economic inactive peers?
Well, for Korea, I believe that resting youth often gets blamed for not trying enough or being too weak. But I think this is a generalization caused by few extreme cases that were shown in the media or online. And if you kind of think about it, for the past few decades, we experienced severe wealth polarization. Our parents still had a chance of buying a house if they got a good job and went to a good school and got a good job. And that's not the case anymore. Although I am respecting the effort and the work that they put in, if you do the math, in 2026, it's basically impossible for us to buy a house even if we save 100% of our lifetime income. And that's not assuming and including the increasing price of the house as well. And therefore, it completely makes sense and it is valid to feel lost and unmotivated to work. And unfortunately, I can't provide with a quick solution like Jeannie, but a personal opinion that I will leave is that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. It will feel overwhelming, it will feel difficult. Trust me, it's difficult for me as well. But once you start taking action and taking the small step, you will see yourself moving forward. So it is a difficult time, but let's just not give up too early.
Well, that was very beautifully put. Julie, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I really do understand the struggle and can empathize with those looking for jobs. There's been moments in my career where I've taken a pause to really think about the next chapter and think about what the next opportunity I really want to pursue. And that journey has taken like more time than expected and has definitely resulted in a lot of restless nights and anxiety and fear for the future for me back then. So I really can understand truly how unsettling this journey can be. But if you keep working hard, networking, toning, and keep honing your skill sets on, you will eventually find a good role that is a good fit for you. I really wish I can give a good answer that is just very comforting and will give the solutions, but you just have to have faith that things will work out. In the meantime, just take care of yourself, build routines, and try to be optimistic for the future. I'm sure for those looking for roles, you will land one eventually.
So today's conversation shows that the challenges facing young people in the job market go far beyond individual efforts. Behind the numbers are real experiences shaped by fierce competition, economic pressure, and changing expectations of work. And as this generation continues to adapt and find its own path forward, the question is how society can better support them along the way. And that's a conversation we'll need to keep having. So that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But Newsgen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Wonbin.
Always a pleasure.
And also Julian.
Thank you for having me today.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And whether you're job hunting or taking a moment to rest, we're cheering you on. We are News Generation.